let's look at how to form the present simple tense. So I've divided the board into 3 sections for positive sentences, negative sentences, and for questions. And we'll go through each one step by step, okay? So for these subjects, I, you, we, and they, we just say work. For example, I work. You can say it after me. That way you will remember the grammar, you'll also get the pronunciation, and it'll help you to learn and remember. So, repeat after me. I work. You work. We work. They work. Good. Now, look what happens here. When it comes to he, she, and it, we need to add an S. Okay? That's all. We need to add an S for he, she, and it. Not because it's plural. It's not plural. But from a grammar point of view, in the present simple, we need to add an S here. So, say it after me. He works. She works. And it works. Okay? Very good. So that's for a positive or affirmative sentence. Now, let's look at a negative sentence. So, what we would say is, I don't work, if we're shortening it, or we would say, I do not work. So what happened here? How did we make it negative? First, we have to add this word do. And down here, we need to add the word does. So this is a helping verb that we have to use in this negative form. All right? So just learn it the way it is, and you'll understand it and you'll get used to it. So we say, I do not work, but do not, when we shorten it, becomes don't. And how does that happen? We take out the O here, and then we squeeze these words together. We join them together, and it becomes don't. So first, let's say it with the contraction, with the short form, because that's how we usually speak. It is correct to say I do not work, but usually we'll say I don't work. All right? But the most important thing to remember is here we say I do not work, but here it becomes he does not work. And does not, when we shorten it, when we contract it, becomes doesn't. So what happened here? We canceled the O, and again we joined these 2 words, does and not, and it became doesn't. And you can always know how to spell this contraction or this short form because of where we put the apostrophe. We put the apostrophe, this little comma that's in the air, in the place where we take out a letter. So we put it here instead of the O, and we put it here instead of the O. So let's go through these. I don't work. You don't work. We don't work. They don't work. Now let's go to he, she, and it. Remember, he, she, and it is always going to be a little bit different. Let's hear it and say it. He doesn't work. She doesn't work. It doesn't work. Let's say the phone, the computer. It doesn't work. Okay? Now, let's go to the questions. So what happens in the questions? In the question, we also have to use that helping verb, do, okay? Do here and does down here. And we have to change the order. So instead of saying I do, we say do I, all right? So repeat it after me. Do I work? I don't know. I don't remember. Do you work? Do we work? do they work? Down here, you would say, with he, she, and it, does he work? Does she work? Does it work? All right. Now, usually, of course, you're not just going to say, do you work? You might say something more than that. Do you work on Fridays? Do you work Monday to Friday? Do you work at the bank? All right. So usually there's something more, but I've just put the basic form here so that you understand the structure of how to use this tense. Now, another important point is that sometimes when we ask questions, we don't just start with do or does, but we need to add a question word, right? So maybe you want to say where. What are the question words, first of all? Who, what, when, where, why, how much, how many, how often, okay? These are all what are called question words. But if you have one of these question words, all you have to do, it's really easy. The only thing you have to do is to put that question word right before this structure. So, where do you work, right? When do you work? Why do you work? How much do you work? How often do you work? But we're keeping the same structure and we still need to have that helping verb do. The same down here. Where does he work? When does she work? Okay? So keep that structure, and even if you have a question word, don't worry, just put it at the beginning. So here we have some examples. Where do you live? What do you do? Okay? But the most important thing to remember is this part. Okay? He works. She works. It works. This is the only place in the entire board where we're adding an S to the verb itself. Everywhere else, we're just using the base form of the verb, right? So let's say our verb is to work. So here it's work, I don't work, do you work? He works. Here it's different. But after that, it goes back to the base form of the verb, right? He doesn't work. Does he work? So even though with he, she, and it in the positive sentence, we add the S, but here in the negative, no. Just go back to the base form. And in the question, go back to the base form of the word work. But you do need to remember that in that positive sentence, add the S. Okay? So that's the structure of the present simple tense. It's really pretty straightforward. You just need to practice it